Law Enforcement Training Center for Pittsburg, California.
Hello.
Morning.
How are you?
How can I help you?
I was just wondering if maybe you could answer a couple questions about what you guys do at the training facility.
Well, here at the training facility, we train upcoming recruits for upcoming career in law enforcement.
Excellent. How long does the training normally go, depending on a recruit?
26 weeks.
That's a lot of training.
We like to think so, yes.
So I just want to let you know that's actually pretty impressive because I do this across the country, and normally I hear 14 to 16 weeks is somewhat the general assessment. So is there like more in-depth training? What do you guys offer that makes up that extra 10 weeks?
Well, we offer a plethora of learning domain activities that is governed by POST, the Police Officer Standards and Training through California. And with that, besides the minimals that are required in terms of firearms, defensive tactics, emergency vehicle operations, we also offer well and above those minimum standards.
That's pretty cool. So you guys have ultimate domain, like Pittsburgh Police can patrol in Pittsburgh, Antioch, but you guys have ultimate domain across the county, right? As far as like
We
your
are the
ability-
regional training center for the county.
Okay, very cool.
But it's governed by the state though.
Okay, and do you involve yourselves in like training operations with like other places? Do you kind of like, I know some places will train in other states or train in other counties to keep up to date.
So we are a regional training center, and so we're governed by the POST, Peace Officer Standards and Training, and so we're just a regular basic course.
Okay.
So it provides essentially about 1,021 hours, which is well above the minimum what the state mandates in terms of hours of instruction.
It's well above most places that most states mandate.
It is, so we try to exceed that standard. So provide the best training we can just to get the recruits the basics so that they can then go to their respective agencies and train in their training program.
Now, would that include just county or would that be city police stations and stuff like
So the regional training center means it's run by the sheriff's office.
that? But you train everyone.
But we train whatever agency wishes to send their newly hired employees and then want to place them into our academy. We will take reservations and provide them a spot if there is room for that particular start of the next class.
Do you have any Pittsburgh officers
We
come
do.
through?
Yeah, we do.
So most of them I've met were nice. We did meet Corporal Haller, and he needs to come through your training course because I think that maybe he would take a little bit of a chill pill, breathe easy.
So once you become an officer, though, this is a basic academy. They don't send their
They have different
They don't bring them back.
to come
Gotcha.
to the academy because they've already went through that and they already received their certification.
Okay.
So any outside training that happens to a hired employee already has to happen within their own home, basically. So
Gotcha.
So Pittsburgh PD, for example, they should have a yearly advanced officer training cycle.
Oh, cool.
So for perishable skills. So they should go through driving, defensive tactics, legal updates, anything that's come down by legislation that may have changed laws. They should all receive updates.
Yeah, because I know that they do that at the correctional facilities as well.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the correctional facility, but I would imagine they fall under the same.
They do, yeah. About once a year, they have like
Yeah.
new laws passed and things
Yeah.
like that,
And
new
you have
trainings.
to go through CPR, first aid update. So, and you're required to do so like every year.
I'm
Those
still
sorts-
blown away by 26 weeks. I've never seen anything over 16 ever, and I've hit so much. Let me ask you a
Are you
personal
guys out
question.
state or?
Yeah, I'm from Boston.
Oh, okay.
But I travel the country. I think I've filmed and done this in every single state except Hawaii. and the most I've found was 16 weeks. So that's why when you said 26 weeks, my brain kind of stopped, because when you talk about that, that's almost double the time. So you have to think about, even if it's like minimal training in separate areas, you guys are really, you're not spreading yourselves thin. You're making sure that you're giving everything you can to each recruit to make sure that when they go to their respective placements, they have as much training as possible, which is excellent. I mean, the reason I asked about other states is because I know I think it would be great that way if you guys could get out to some other places and say, you know, kind of refine. If it's not broke, doesn't fix it, doesn't really kind of work in your line of duty. Let me ask you a personal question. If you could choose, if I'm a big Second Amendment guy, if you could choose, I know some departments are able to carry your own firearm. I don't know if you came with the sheriff's office, but if you could carry whatever firearm you wanted as your utility firearm, what would it be?
Are you looking at me?
You're looking
He
at
knows.
Don't say the Gen
He's
5.
a firearms
please.
instructor. That's
Okay.
why.
I could tell he knows what he would pick though. He had a little grin.
I'm currently issued a 6 Sauer 226, and I love that.
Love it, yeah.
I love that platform. It's an excellent firearm.
It's a little heavy, but I feel like, but the handle is wonderful. It maintains for a long time. Everyone's like in law enforcement when I ask this question, like, oh, the Gen 5 is really much like the same as the Gen 4. There's really like no difference beside the grip and stuff. But what about you?
Same thing, actually, and to many people's surprise, like, oh, you don't like the Glock? I do, but I think maybe just because I've trained with SIG for so long,
Right.
that when I shoot both, I still feel like I shoot better in training when it comes to this.
I explain
why I
to
like
people,
it.
it's like, you know, say you're driving a Ford F-150. You drive that all your life, and then, you know, the new Chevy Silverado looks really great, but then you get into it and you start noticing those little things, and it's like, I wish I was back in my Ford.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, like I used to be a Samsung person, and now I'm all about the iPhone.
They do
This
shoot
guy
frames per
won't even.
second.
This guy won't even like touch an iPhone.
So the iPhone's
Stubborn.
the Glock and the Samsung is the SIG. That's what we're going with.
That's what you're going with.
I'm an iPhone person too.
What's your name?
Thank
again?
you.
I'm Deputy Terry.
David, can I shake your hand?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's
What's your name?
sir?
Sergeant Garrett.
Anna.
Anna.
Yeah,
Very
nice to meet you.
What was your name again?
Josh.
Josh. Nice to meet
Nice
you.
Thanks for
meet you.
talking to us. I appreciate it. I know sometimes
Absolutely.
you guys see the camera and you're like, oh, they're gonna give us a wicked hard
Honestly,
time.
we see it all the time. You see it on the videos, and like, and not to bash others, but at the same time, you know, you realize, what are you guys doing? You guys not getting training? You guys don't know how to deal with, you know, First Amendment rights and those sort of things. So, I mean, it's not really an issue, because when you know what people can and can't do and your authority, it makes everything easy. When you don't know is when you fall into, you know, that
Well,
trap
that's-
of trouble.
yeah.
Like, you don't know what you're talking about. So,
Well, the same thing goes to like us as well, because like when you came to the door, I could have like made a lot of movements and then ran around the building acting crazy like this. I think that we come to a point where on my side of the spectrum, where if we're both doing things the right way, we have these type of excellent conversations. Like I had met an officer yesterday, and we were just filming the inside of his vehicle from the sidewalk. He's like, "That's against California Penal Code." I was like, "You're playing with your doctrine, buddy. Like you can look inside my vehicle to find anything for probable cause or a reasonable articulable suspicion. Now I can't film yours." Like, "Oh my computer screen is private information." I was like, "Then stop arguing with me and making yourself viral. Close the computer screen." Like it's really that simple. 'Cause
Yeah.
I approach the same thing every way. I'm super nice. I really don't get involved, and then if I have to, like, you know, defend myself verbally, I will. But I think that's where we can have some discourse. Do you guys ever train your recruits in like what we're doing? Like if you should ever see an auditor or an activist, you do? Okay.
not specifically towards the auditor type of.
Just but anybody with a
platform.
camera.
But we do do some scenario trainings on post mandates us to do certain scenario trainings, right? One is like suspicious persons contact. Another one is just making regular contact with individuals.
Right.
So they have to understand the difference between a consensual encounter and a detention. And sometimes we pose to
Right.
them a scenario. Well, what if you have someone that's filming? Like, and where are they? Like, can they legally be there? Then you're in the open. There's no expectation of privacy, and they are free to leave. So we do teach them those differences. So
That's great.
So yeah, so they have to understand that, and so when they go through the scenario testing process and stuff like that, they do get graded. So if they go, no, you turn that into a detention, you would fail, right? And then then you have to retrain them up, and they get a chance to retest again per the state mandate. and they have to successfully pass that again. And if they don't, then obviously they didn't understand it. They could be dismissed from the academy, and you're no longer going to
Right.
continue on course.
See, that's
you
wonderful.
you guys cover Antioch as well too, right?
Yeah, the whole region.
Yeah, but
Well,
that's
we have had Antioch officers come through our academy, yes.
okay.
yes.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is because I'm local,
Mm-hmm.
and I've had encounters with Antioch PD, Brentwood PD. I don't know if you go that far out, but Brentwood, Pittsburg, just places in the area. And I would say that if you guys are in charge of Antioch as well, they do a significant job at being friendly with the public. Like, they're awesome. As far as the
'Cause of him,
Pittsburgh
don't
PD,
forget the iPhone.
yeah, he's got the iPhone. That's exactly why. But as far as Pittsburgh PD, they aren't very friendly. They're not very open. They're very closed off, and they just
Well, that's
Bad
upkeep and
vibes.
management too. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
if you do
I-
anything,
this-
you gotta.
You know what it comes down to
maintain
is
it.
just being personable and just being human and just being a good
Right.
person overall. And some of it has to do with your own character, right? And so understanding like your ability to perceive threat versus non-threat, and that usually comes with a little bit more seasoning, a little bit time on the job, and just how you are in interaction and communication with others.
Yeah.
And when you understand that kind of stuff, it's not everybody's against you. Yes, we have officer safety things that we have to consider.
Well, that's like important. Like,
But you gotta find that
yeah.
balance. Can I be calm and still in my head still thinking like, wash their hands, they can't put them in their pockets? Because there are things that are taught to us that can hurt us, right?
Right.
So even though we have a good calm approach, that doesn't mean that I've completely forgotten about where your
Training
hands
and-
are
right.
and what's happening, and do you look like you're holding anything? What demeanor do you have towards me? Those are things that we analyze in less than 5 seconds.
Well, we can't forget on our side that your job is like dangerous, and the same thing. Like, obviously, there's no like training seminar, or I would have cornered that market and just be sitting at home in a villa. But
Yeah.
like, when you guys are on, like, for example, there was a domestic call last night in Pittsburgh, and there was a woman in distress. They didn't know exactly where this person was, and the guy could have been armed, right? So we see the cops kind of looking through the backyards, and so that's one of those situations where you guys have a dangerous job. And the last thing, like, you're looking for this dangerous person, I run up with a camera. So we stay back and kind of observed and let everyone do their thing. And there has to be that middle ground where we understand that, like, at some point, just because, we have the right to, like, go up on you guys, if you're dealing with a situation that's, like, imminently dangerous to the citizens, the people you're dealing with, like, that's not the place and time to run up on you and, like, be sticking our hands in our
Right.
pockets.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything for us. It certainly doesn't do anything for you. But I know you guys are busy. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. You guys are
Yeah.
doing a phenomenal job. I'm going to post
Absolutely.
this video
Yeah,
on
thank
my
you.
channel as Accountability
And-
for All.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'll make sure to let
Is it
people
on
know.
YouTube? Is it on TikTok?
No, it's so I'm on YouTube and TikTok. I mainly post on YouTube. I have about 85,000 subscribers.
Okay.
I'm gonna put it up there, and because I think it's important. Like, everyone wants to do, like, oh, complaint form, but then when they have a good interaction, the video doesn't get posted. There's no commendation. There's no follow up. So I'm going to go online. I'm gonna fill a commendation for both you guys. I'm gonna put it in the beginning of this video, and then I'm gonna kind of challenge Pittsburgh PD to start sending more of their recruits here.
yeah.
Well, they always have. Pittsburgh has always sent their recruits. That's not to say that they couldn't send them to at the time when Napa was running, because if they get a hire and they couldn't get them to the class and they want to get them on board,
Right.
and they go, hey, Napa's starting in 2 weeks, they're probably going to send them. For sure, I can't tell you that that's happened, but generally speaking, because we're right
Yeah.
in their backyard, they will send their recruits to us. At least in my time, and as far as I know, they've always sent their recruits here. So
Okay.
generally, we get the agencies within the county, and we also get agencies that are outside of the county. So we've had Newark, Fremont PD, Albany PD. They all send their recruits here because they hear how we run our academy.
Well, get ready for the continuous
So-
shout outs, because every time I do a training center, I'm going to go, and the first question I ask is, how long is your course? And the moment they say 16 weeks, I'm going to tell them to call you guys and figure it out before someone gets maced in a wheelchair.
So you mentioned Boston,
Yeah.
right? So it's always been historically that California has one of the highest standards in training across the nation. I've heard Minnesota it has high standards as well.
Boston is very low
So
because of all the different jurisdictions, like
Yeah.
state police, one of the biggest police agencies, they have their own state police training. And if you're a Boston police officer, you go through the Boston Police Accreditation course. So besides being accredited to be a law enforcement officer, there's really not, like, there's basic firearms training, but they carry on their badge. So there's really no like standardized training as far as what happens over the state, let alone like, I mean, they have NEMLAC, which is like, you know, the sheriffs, and they have like kind of like a tactical response group, but the sheriffs out there only operate corrections. They have no jurisdiction as far as law enforcement goes, unless they're doing like a detail or a traffic or something like that. So there's all these different law enforcement agencies, and there's really no collective oversight of it, which is why there's so many issues, because it's like anything else. Hire slow, fire fast. You want to get as many people as you can on board, you lower your standards, you get a lot more officers because you think now we have more people on the street, that's going to prevent crime, when in fact you can take your time. Sometimes you have to turn people away, but at least you know that the end product and the person that you're putting on the street has been trained to the best standards that you guys allow, which I think is another reason why I asked if you guys do out-of-state work, because you should.
Well, that's why I was asked the notion that California has one of the highest standards across the nation. I've always said it, I'm surprised that other states don't reach out to our state, not our academy specifically, but to our standards and try and mimic that a little bit more, whether it be the training, the different learning domains that we offer. If they're doing 16 weeks, I know for us, when we do our 26, sometimes 27, depending on how many holidays fall into that
Right.
block of instruction, how we feel like there's so much more. But that's why when they go to their agencies, they still get at least 4 months of training, right? And then they still have to complete typically 1 to 2 years of being on probation. So they're a probationary employee, and hopefully they're the right fit for that agency. If not, they could be released without any explanation, really, just
Right.
explaining that you're not a fit
Employment
for us.
at will, right?
Yeah, so there's a lot of levels to it. We explain this to the recruits, you know, that there's a lot of testing that happens throughout those 26 weeks. And it's a little bit of a grind because we're pushing a lot of information.
And you feel there could be 26 weeks isn't enough. Like, what if the state came to you and said, all right, listen guys, we're looking at all these other states, money's tight, we need to take 10 weeks out of the training. I mean, your brains must at that point explode.
You
'Cause
probably
the
like
people
have a
are
panic
safe,
attack,
the officers
honestly.
aren't safe.
Yeah, I think the most I've been asked, and I don't really recall offhand, was can we chop a week off? They're like, oh, you're killing me. Like, what am I gonna
Just
chop?
for a week.
Well, you
What am I
know,
gonna chop off exactly? Right?
it's the same thing with teachers too. They have a certain specific curriculum, and you know, the bug going on, that messes everything up, and they have to change everything that they're doing, and the kids get gypped on learning when they're
We
in
do
school.
have certain days where it's like a lot of staff time. So like, okay, I can find, you know, certain days that I can kind of. We're talking about like I only got to trim 4 days off. Like I can certainly make that work because I can't just arbitrarily pick anything I want.
And is it
to.
just you two here?
No.
Okay.
There's a couple other. Do you guys know how academies function at all?
No.
So typically your academy, you have the staff that you have on board is usually you have an academy director and an academy coordinator. I'm the coordinator for the academy, and then I have recruit training officers like Brian. And so typically,
iPhone Brian.
typically you have let's say a class of 50 recruits. For us, we'll have 2 recruit training officers that are their primary recruit training officers for that particular class. We have other ones that run in another class because we'll run 3 classes per year.
okay.
So there's a little bit of overlap, and when one class finishes, it kind of frees up extra staff to help out with the other class. And so we have to schedule and kind of build their learning blocks and make it progress throughout the 26 weeks. So it all makes sense.
Right.
Right. So they have to do all their training with firearms, driving, first aid, defensive tactics. Those are all areas that are tested. It's scenario testing. When they meet the minimum hours for each learning block, supposed to tell me you need to give them 8 hours of search and seizure. Okay, so the way we exceed our hours, like we're not going to give them 8, we're going to give them 20. And so we're presenting the same material, we just give it more time for the recruits to learn.
To sink in, right?
To sink in and really get a chance to practice it, and then we use our staff time to kind of develop scenarios with them so that we can.
You guys are like the private school of law enforcement training, like smaller classes, more one-on-one time.
Most of the recruits do well academically. You can learn the book material and all that stuff. The hardest part for a new recruit is the application part.
Okay.
You thrust them into like, okay, we want to go make contact, go talk to someone, and they go, well, I don't know how to apply, even though I know it, I can verbally tell you, it's physically going through it. You're too rigid, you're too far, you're too close, you're too rough, your words aren't quite there to really gain compliance, so you gotta smooth all those things out, so it's a lot.
Now, do you think that 26 weeks is enough? Because you've been doing this for a while. Do you think 26 weeks is enough? Or if you could choose, would you put on more time? If you had the funding and all that kind of stuff for it.
You know, yeah, you know, it's a tough question only because to give you like a quick answer off the top of my head,
Right.
is sometimes, you know, you talk to the instructors, and we have attorneys from the district attorney's office that come in and teach laws of arrest, search and seizure,
Which
and
is
they'll
great.
tell you that it's because we exceed the hours already.
Yeah.
From post, like there's only so much I can talk about it. Like now it's more of like, let's do the field work, so to speak,
Right.
And so we don't have the ability, because they can't carry armed, right, to just go,
Right.
let's go practice it. So we have to put on basically a production where we have evaluators, role players that are acting so that they can get an understanding of how things happen. So it's a lot of moving parts. And I would say, yes, ideally, it's always better to have more training. So yeah, if you said, we're gonna give you 30 weeks,
Right.
okay, great. Now let's figure out what should we expand on and what else could we do. So it's never a bad thing. I would say, yes, if you wanna give us more time, no problem. We already
Right.
have the curriculum. Let's just expand on that and see how we can better develop, because then they still got 4 more months with their own agency.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you one more question. I'll let you guys go. 'Cause I know you're super busy.
No, it's okay, I got time for you.
Would there, and not on this trip, I'm going back to Boston in a couple days, but would there sometime in the future, I know you have higher ups you need to talk to, where maybe I could come in, take like a condensed, like maybe 2-day class where I like run the obstacle course, do the maybe one of the written tests, and see if I could somehow I can't climb.
So I can tell you that the sheriff's office has started a citizens academy. I
Oh.
don't have all the information right this second. I have to pull up some of the information, but we are starting up a citizens academy, and it's like a condensed, a very, very condensed version
Right.
of actually what happens here.
So that people can experience it
so-
themselves and have a
Yeah,
little
so
training
like
of
what
their
we-
own.
Yeah, so what we recently did is we did a junior women's like academy. It was only like a 2-day thing, and it was really to kind of target young women that may be interested in this field. And we present them. It's not always about being sworn and a badge and a gun. We have other positions, forensics, CSI. So we presented those kind of things and different opportunities that the sheriff's office has to offer. So now we're kind of getting back to a citizens academy so that you get a little bit of the inner workings of how we do our job on a daily basis.
It's great to build relationships too,
Yeah,
because
of course.
I mean, post George Floyd, like I try to tell people all the time, like, you know, cops, the one thing cops don't like are bad cops, because then they're like, oh man, another one, because then you guys are looking over your back. It sucks. So to be able to have the people have an opportunity to see what you guys do, the working mechanisms, it definitely kind of bridges that gap, especially within your community, and you guys seem to do it more here than any other place I've seen. So honestly, well done. We appreciate it.
So obviously we are not like a open to the public type of facility, which is why we have some signage posted around, right? It's more for safety reasons.
Right, and why the doors were
Right,
locked.
not for a transparency issue.
I'm sorry.
And so it's not a transparency issue, it's more of a security.
Right,
Right,
it's
secure.
public, but it's training. I understand that. So that's why I came here. I figured ring the bell if they have a couple minutes just to answer about, because that's one of my things I like to do. I'm always interested because one of the things is like, well, how long is it? Everyone knows that the training is so minimal, so I always like to ask. When you told me that, my brain almost stopped working for a minute. I didn't quite know what to do.
You blew his mind.
It did, yeah. You guys are awesome. Listen, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you so
I'd
much.
invite you to show you like a classroom if you wanted to see it.
That,
Yeah,
that would be
that'd
awesome.
amazing. Yeah, right, come right in.
Thank
It's
you.
right here.
Thank you.
Now, as far as like that 2-day citizens training that you
I don't
guys
want you
are-
to think like, oh, just get that day at the at the
No,
door.
no.
that 2-day
So this is one of our
citizens
main
training
teaching
that you guys talking
classrooms.
about,
What's
Okay.
that?
is that
We can hold up
voluntary, or you
to
have to pay
50
for
or
that
so
2
students in
days?
here as well. We have a class in
You know,
session in our
I'd have
other
to-
classroom.
To speak
We'll have
intelligent, I'd have to
subject
get some
matter
information because I just.
instructors come
here's some
in
information. Go.
that teach our specific learning domains.
I had to
as
give you the
well
information. I
as,
don't want to give you
like,
the wrong info. Because I don't know exactly
Sergeant
when it's
Gary was
starting
saying
and
the
how to
training
get into
officer,
it.
No, it's
which
fine. I
handles,
can
like, the
follow up with you
day-to-day,
at a later date.
constantly evaluating
problem.
and taking
I
care
can
of their
give you
physical
the
training
business
and
card.
Thank
whatnot,
you. That'd be awesome.
for the
We'll grab it
academy.
for you.
Thank you.
And the knock 1, 2, 3 speak. I've never seen that. So you knock on the door, wait, and then announce yourselves.
So we have a, I'm not gonna say, let's see here. We maintain a high level of discipline here. So we wanna make sure that everything comes down to training. Do you wanna stand in front of a doorway of a potentially violent situation? Or would you rather stand off to the side, knock, and announce yourself?
Of course.
Right, you don't wanna
Makes
stand in
sense.
that, what's called the fatal funnel, is
Right.
another thing what it's called.
Have someone blow through the door, of course.
So if we can instill that now, automatically becomes muscle memory for them since they have to do it every time.
Very cool.
So we start now, and so it translates out for when they get out to
You
the
guys
street.
got to do like maybe you have one, but like a minimal informational video. Maybe I'll do this. I'll condense it and email it to you and just like put it on your website. Maybe something like 3 minutes long. And then people get a crash course in everything that's going on because no one ever
Thank you
knows.
so
It really
much.
does open your eyes to what's going on because, especially from my point of view, we see the police. I have a little bit more knowledge because like the work I do, but we see the police and we say, oh, well, that cop was a jerk. Every single cop is bad. There's no training. But then you have this type of interaction for people to kind of see the indoors. So maybe like a small infomercial or informational thing on your website or that you put out and people could say, oh, that's what happened. It's a shame more people don't know the inner workings. Of course, I'll send you the videos and you guys can use whatever you want. But I think it's great.
And I appreciate you guys even inviting us in so we could at least see one of the rooms. That's great.
That
Thank
way
you.
you get an idea of kind of, it is a lot of classroom instruction. And so like I said, every day they have a different topic. The instructor will come in, put up a PowerPoint. They do group exercises and put some of the information into practical exercises. So
And it's
yeah.
clean and organized in here, unlike some of the officers' units inside.
Can't speak to that one. Can't
No,
speak
it's
to
not
that
your
one.
fault. I mean, clearly you guys keep it well maintained in your classrooms. Thank you so much.
Not a problem.
You
I got
Anna,
it.
Josh, thank you very much for
It's
coming
nice
by.
to meet you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming by.
Thank you for my business card.
Excellent. Thanks a lot.
Thank
I'll
you.
again email the video over you guys, give you a shout out. And again, thanks for the work that you do. Your officers that come out of this academy very lucky.
Yes, thank you
Thanks,
so
guys.
much.
Be
Very
safe.
much.
Take it
Have a
easy.
good day.
You have a good day.
Wow, guys, look at that. Very cool. And that is the Officer Sheriff Law Enforcement Training Center. Very, very cool. Very, very surprising. Not so much that they were nice, because I told Anna when I do these types of things, half a dozen to one, six of the other. So you either get the half that are like new recruits and they're really like fidgety and they don't want to talk to you, or you get the guys like that have been around for a while and they're the ones that are training you to go in the field, so they're pretty nice. I was more surprised on how long the training courses are. I have no reason to believe he's going to lie to me, so I'm going to dig into it a little bit and just,
Well, and he said it very quick. That answer was quick. I
so-
think that for sure was a fact.
I'm going to check into it, but I think that that's probably accurate. And if that is the case, and these types of videos is what we do, the one thing we always talk about is training. These cops don't have enough training. A barber goes through more training. Keep in mind that it's normally 4 to 9 months of training at the police department, like afterwards. And then you have the police department's actual academy. So when you factor in, 26 weeks, that's more than just over double the time that most agencies that I've seen from across the nation do. So, I mean, and that's great. The conversation on, what is detainment? What is reasonable articulable suspicion? If they're filming, is that a crime? So, I mean, shout out to them. Good job. Subscribe to Banana Rana, and that's the reason I stopped you today.